The priest's solemn words hung in the crisp autumn air of Oakwood Cemetery. We commit his body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But before he could finish, a sharp voice cut through the sacred silence. Hold it right there. This gathering violates Section 12C of the Pineview Homeowners Association bylaws. Who's in charge here? The mourners, gathered to honor Robert Hensley, a decorated Vietnam veteran, froze. Heads lifted from bowed prayer, eyes wide with disbelief. The soft rustle of oak leaves and quiet sobs were drowned out by a confused murmur rippling through the crowd. James Carter, the 52-year-old police chief of Franklin County, stood rigid in his navy blue dress uniform, his silver badge gleaming under a black mourning band. Rage simmered in his chest. This was supposed to be a day to honor his father, not face this outrage. Two men in dark, tactical-style uniforms stood before him, their belts heavy with radios and pouches in absurd contrast to the somber suits and dresses of the grieving. The leader, a burly man in his late 30s with a trimmed beard, puffed out his chest. "I'm Officer Daniel Brooks, Pineview HOA Enforcement Division," he declared, tapping a flimsy laminated badge. His partner, shorter and clutching a clipboard, hovered nervously. James stepped forward, his polished shoes barely crunching the grass. "This is a private funeral on city-owned land," he said, voice low but laced with steel. "You have no authority here." Brooks smirked, undeterred. "This cemetery falls under HOA jurisdiction. We've had a complaint about an unauthorized gathering. Disperse now, or you're coming with us." He nodded to his partner, who brandished a zip tie with unsettling eagerness. The crowd gasped. James's mother, Margaret, seated near the flag-draped casket, clutched her handkerchief, her face pale with shock. General Thomas Reed, Robert's old comrade, narrowed his eyes, his imposing frame tense with fury. Other veterans among the mourners shifted, their grief turning to anger. This was no mere interruption, it was a desecration. James's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You're trying to detain a civilian during a funeral on public property, wearing fake badges and uniforms. Do you know who I am?" Brooks sneered. "I don't care who you are. You're obstructing HOA business." The zip tie gleamed in the sunlight, a taunting threat. Then, James's hand moved swift, deliberate, not to a weapon, but to his leather badge case. With a snap, he revealed the gold shield of Franklin County's police chief. "I'm James Carter, Chief of Police," he said, his voice ringing with authority. "And you picked the wrong day to play pretend cop." Brooks froze, his smugness evaporating. His partner dropped the zip tie, stumbling back. The mourners whispered in awe. Chief of Police, they had no idea. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Two cruisers pulled up, and officers Sarah Klein and David Torres stepped out, their calm professionalism a stark contrast to Brooks's crumbling bravado. James had radioed for backup before the service, a precaution he never imagined needing for this. "Officers, these men are impersonating law enforcement and attempting unlawful detainment," James said. Klein and Torres moved in, cuffing Brooks and his partner with swift precision. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed like justice itself. General Reed placed a hand on James's shoulder. "Well done, Chief. They've shamed themselves and dishonored a hero." As the impostors were led away, the mourners exhaled, relief washing over them. But for James, this was no victory yet. The interruption wasn't just about two overzealous fakes. It was a symptom of something darker. He vowed, silently, at his father's grave, "I'll find who's behind this, Dad. For you." Days later, James's investigation uncovered a name: Victor Grayson, the charismatic, iron-fisted president of the Pineview HOA. To the public, Grayson was a pillar of the community, a businessman preaching order and property values. But whispers painted him as a tyrant, using the HOA's rules as weapons to intimidate residents. Stories poured in. Mrs. Evelyn Ward, fined for a rose garden. The Thompsons, threatened over their kid's swing set. General Reed confirmed Grayson's reputation as a bully targeting the vulnerable. James's team dug deeper, uncovering suspicious invoices for security equipment paid to a shadowy company. The complaint about his father's funeral? Filed by Grayson's assistant, hours before the disruption. It was deliberate. Then, a breakthrough. An anonymous envelope slid under the precinct door. Inside were memos signed by Grayson, ordering enforcement against dissenters, and a USB with audio of him coaching Brooks on intimidation tactics. A uniform and a stern voice, Grayson laughed. That's all it takes to scare most people. Armed with this, James planned his move. He announced his presence at the next HOA meeting, ensuring media coverage. The community center was packed, the air electric with anticipation. Grayson sat at the front, his smile strained. General Reed and other veterans sat prominently, their presence a silent rebuke. James took the podium, his badge gleaming. I'm here as your police chief, and as a son who watched his father's funeral be desecrated, he began. He revealed the memos and played the audio, Grayson's voice echoing damningly. The crowd gasped. Residents stood, sharing their own stories of harassment. Grayson's composure cracked. This is a witch hunt, he shouted, but his voice was desperate, his allies silent. James nodded to Klein and Torres. As they cuffed Grayson, his face drained of color. A fleeting, eerie smile crossed his lips, not defiance, but defeat. The room erupted in applause, not for vengeance, but for justice restored. In the aftermath, the HOA was dismantled and rebuilt with transparent bylaws. Grayson faced prison for fraud and harassment. Brooks and his partner got probation. The community healed, residents finally free to speak. The Franklin Gazette ran exposés praising James's resolve. One autumn morning, James returned to Oakwood Cemetery with Margaret, his sister Laura, and General Reed. They stood at Robert's new headstone, Robert Hensley, soldier, defender, man of honor. James touched the granite. We did it, Dad. They're free. Margaret squeezed his hand, tears of relief in her eyes. Reed nodded. You honored him, James, by standing for what's right. A boy, Timmy, approached with wildflowers. For your dad, he said. Mom says you're a hero too. James smiled. Keep that lemonade stand going, Timmy. This neighborhood's yours now. Driving away, James felt peace. Justice wasn't just law, it was restoring hope, ensuring every voice mattered. His father's legacy lived on in a liberated community. What do you think about this story? Have you ever faced or witnessed abuse of power or injustice in your community? Share your thoughts below. Let's discuss how we confront bullying and stand for what's right. Your voice matters.